First thing I'm going to say about this particular Celica is the color is beautiful. I really love this color of this car. In fact, if I was ever fortunate enough to find one of these in original condition and this color, this would definitely be the color that I would buy. The shape of this model is perfect to the actual car. The paint, as I mentioned, I like the color. The paint is flawless on this model. There's not a scratch anywhere. There's no marks. It's painted on evenly, and there is a flake in the paint, and it is a very, very fine flake. It matches with the real thing very closely. One of my favorite things about this model is this front end. I really do like the grille on this particular era of Celica. It's just a very unique and very aggressive. Definitely would like to, and I doubt it ever happened, but if Toyota came out with a resto version like the Americans did with their Mustangs and Chargers back in the day around 2005, man, if they could harken back to that with a newer Celica, that would be beautiful. The headlights look like the real deal. They're very intricate. I like the lenses. They look very realistic. I really do like the GT symbol that's on the grille as well. It stands out. The other thing that you may notice is that the side markers integrate with the sheet metal of the car, and that is outstanding. Just moving on to the back of the model. I don't know who did this first, is it the Japanese or the Americans, but the whole idea of having a blacked out back grille is just fantastic. I really do like that. It looks very aggressive. You also have the taillights, which again look very realistic. Cars back in the 70s, of course, in the late 60s, all had the chrome. Well, you can actually go back all the way to the 50s for that, but the chrome bumper on this is so well done. If you really look at the bottom of this chrome grille, you can clearly see the reflection of the turntable. That's how well done the chrome is on this model. The wheel detail, no, these aren't the most intricate wheels. It's basically a steel wheel. It's a 4-bolt pattern. It is very accurate to the real deal, and there is a valve stem. This is a full opening model, as you would expect from Autoart, and one thing that definitely stands out is the shut lines. They're very tight. You could fool somebody and say this is a sealed model. That's how well done they are. So let's go ahead and open this up. And there you are, fully open. Everything was relatively easy to open, despite the good shut lines, and I'm not going to complain about that. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at this beautiful car. We have the GT on the back of the trunk lid, as well as the Toyota plaque. Nicely done flocking for the carpeting. And then you also have this well here, which is actually for the spare tire. They included the light, so when you do open this in real life, obviously this light comes on so you can see what's going on back there. These straps are plastic, but definitely more than acceptable. Here you have a simulated leather seat, simulated in that the real car was leather, but obviously this is not. This is all plastic, but the texture on the seat is fantastic, and I like the fact that the seat looks like it's a soft cushioned seat. It does not look like a hard plastic. And I also like the differences between the outer and inner part of the seat. That's really nicely done. You have the controls here as well. There is a seat belt back here, and there's your buckle there. The seat belt itself is a actual stitched seat belt. It's just really tight back there, and I believe it was because with these they actually were retractable, so you actually pulled those around, from my understanding. There's also a floor mat you can see in the rear there, floor mat in the front. You can just take a peek right there. You can see there's a gauge, and we'll get a closer shot of that, but my point being is that even at this distance, the clarity of that gauge is fantastic. In fact, the clarity of all the panel itself is very clear. It's not distorted in any way, which is really good to see. We zoom in closer to that gauge as I was mentioning, and there you are. You can see the dial. There's some numbers there. Look at the HVAC vents. They have some depth to them. So again, it just adds to that realism that we like to see. Moving on to the driver's side, again, you have a very nicely detailed floor mat. You can see the 3 pedals. That would be the gas, brake, and clutch. There's even the pattern on the pedals as well. Nicely done. Steering wheel looks very accurate to the real thing. Close shot of that fantastic gauge cluster. I like the fact that, again, you can see numbers, you can see the dials. The door card is fully detailed. You do have a chromed crank for the windows, as well as the door latch itself. Again, very nice texture to this. It looks like it's a soft leather. It's not. You have the light there as well, and then of course you have the flocking at the bottom. It's an up close shot of the front wheel. Again, you have the valve stem there. This is a 4 lug. Plenty of detail there. The lugs look like they're removable. You do have scripting on the tires. It's very well done. These wheels on this model are steerable, but the suspension is not a functioning suspension. The decal work on this model is excellent, as well as I mentioned earlier, the paint and the flake. It's just absolutely beautiful. There's just so much to take in here. And the great thing about great detailed engines is that you can have conversation and not be embarrassed by it, because there's just so much to see here. Every part that you'd want to demonstrate or talk about is there. Let's take the race headers, for example, and how well those are done. I'm assuming they are. I can't imagine a factory come out with headers like that, and if they did, please leave it in the comments, because that would be cool. You have all the wiring and hoses, and all the lines are not identical, which is really great. This tank here, I'm assuming it's an expansion tank. I like that Autoart has gone on and used clear tanks. Definitely adds more to the realism factor. The battery has not only the terminals, but you see the wires attached to them as well. You have the valve cover with the Toyota. You have a detailed oil cap. On to the other side of this engine. Again, there's just so much there. This old school air intake here, for example. It's just all there. It's fantastic that it's there. It gives you a lot to have a conversation about. The mirror that sits on the fender. I like the 2 different parts where you have the, I'm assuming this is an aluminum cover, but then you have this chromed rim, and it just looks spectacular. Well, I hope you enjoyed the review of this 1973 Toyota Celica Liftback, the 2000 GT. It is a very good model, and I think this model fell under the radar, and I truly do mean that, in that I have not seen much talk about it, you know, throughout the web, and It's a shame because you have companies like Ignition that also have made variations of this particular car, and it's done pretty well for Ignition models, and the Autoart comes out and it's full opening and it has just about the same quality, if not more, than the Ignition model. So you can see everything on this model is really great, and because Toyota is obviously a Japanese company and Autoart is a Hong Kong based company, they definitely wanted to make sure that this car was done right. It's a sense of pride for them, and it makes perfect sense, and you can see it throughout. I mean, there are details that you wouldn't typically expect out of a die-cast model that's present here. That goes for the interior, the wheel detail, the engine detail. Oh my goodness, it's just fantastic. So if you are into older vintage muscle cars, because that's really what this is a Japanese muscle car, this one is definitely a must-have. If I was to put a value on this, I'm going to give it $2.50 signs. Once this disappears, it will definitely grow in value. It'll be slow, but it'll definitely grow in value. It's going to be one of those that flew under the radar, and people are going to go back and say, darn it, I should have got that years ago. Please like and subscribe. That is the best way I'm going to know you're enjoying these videos. I really do appreciate your time. If you're new to this channel, binge watch some of the old stuff. I have a lot of great reviews and commentary. See you next time.